Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. I am absolutely pumped to guide you through today's journey. We're going to look at a truly incredible moment in time, Colorado's 150th anniversary. It's sesquicentennial, and specifically how the city of Denver decided to pull out all the stops to celebrate it. If you're into seeing how history, art, and community completely intertwine, you are going to love this. We're exploring how local artists and historians took a century and a half of rich, rugged history and literally transformed it into an unforgettable multimedia experience.
Okay, let's dive into this. Have you ever wondered, how do you actually synchronize 150 years of history into a single night of music? Well, in 2026, Denver set out to answer exactly that. They didn't just want your standard run-of-the-mill fireworks show. No way. They wanted a real narrative. So, local artists teamed up with historians to meticulously curate a musical score that actually told the story of Colorado's evolution, from a territory straight through to a state. It wasn't just background noise, The music was the script, and the fireworks themselves were the actors on the stage.
Section 1. The 2026 Denver Spectacle, Bridging Past and Present. To really grasp why this event was so massive, we have to talk about the number 150. You see, 2026 wasn't just another Independence Day for Colorado. It marked its sesquicentennial. That's 150 years of statehood. Now, Colorado is known as the Centennial State for a very specific reason. It was officially admitted to the Union back in 1876, exactly 100 years after the signing of the Declaration of Independence. That unique timing has always given Colorado's 4th of July this sort of dual meaning. It's a celebration of national independence, sure, but it's equally a celebration of their own arrival as a state. Picture the night sky over Denver completely transformed into a massive canvas, bridging that rugged past with a vibrant modern identity.
And this brilliantly illustrates how they pulled it off. The artists and historians literally deconstructed Colorado's past into distinct musical movements. They didn't just start the clock at 1876 either. They anchored the opening of the whole narrative in the pre-1876 era of ancestral gatherings. Then the music shifted into the boom of 1876 statehood, transitioned right into the early 1900s when railroad expansion was completely transforming the state, and finally crescendoed into the modern 2026 event. We're going to walk through each of these distinct beats in the score right now.
Section 2. Echoes of Ancestral Gatherings, the Roots of the Melody. So when the Denver Spectacle began, the opening notes purposely bypassed European settlers to honor indigenous foundations, specifically tribes like the Ute, Cheyenne, and Arapaho. The music slowed way down here, adopting this beautiful, reverent, grounding tone to acknowledge the region's absolute first inhabitants. To tell a true story of Colorado's identity, the artist knew the root of the melody had to recognize the traditions existing on that land long before anyone ever heard of the 4th of July. Long before statehood, these tribes held rich, seasonal gatherings that were totally central to their cultural life. What's absolutely fascinating is that historians explicitly point to these ancestral gatherings as the true root of modern celebration practices in the region. Today, these tribes continue this unbroken line of tradition, holding ceremonies that honor their heritage right alongside national festivities.
Section 3. The Rhythm of the Frontier, Independence in the Mining Camps.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the sheer energy of those early frontier celebrations. Imagine the musical score suddenly picking up a lively, rugged pace. This movement represented the year 1876 and the absolute explosion of early mining towns like Leadville and Central City. For these early miners, the 4th of July wasn't just a polite patriotic observation. It was a vital community milestone. It was a rare, explosive break from the incredibly intense, grueling labor of the mines. We're talking shooting contests, which were a huge reflection of the frontier spirit and self-reliance, making up a massive chunk of the day. You also had horse races, heavy doses of community music bringing diverse populations together, and of course, community barbecues. The 2026 spectacle captured this exact, frenetic, hardworking energy.
When we look at how celebrating has changed across eras, the contrast is just stunning. On one hand, you have the 1800s mining towns. These were highly localized, fiercely independent events centered around rugged, physical, athletic skill. Fast forward to the 2026 Denver Spectacle, and you've got this massive, tech-driven, multimedia event utilizing precise digital synchronization to focus on statewide unity and sustainability. But here's the cool part. Despite that massive leap in technology and scale, both eras relied heavily on music and community gathering as their core foundation.
The big bridge between those two eras was the railroad.
It completely transformed isolated frontier festivities into major statewide events. The musical score of the 2026 event heavily reflected this era of expansion. As cities like Denver and Colorado Springs started booming, the iron rails brought in a massive influx of diverse people and resources. The rhythm of the celebration literally expanded, turning what used to be localized mountain parties into a grand, statewide symphony of community identity.
Let's move to and see how this builds in Section 4, composing a unified community, blending cultures and sounds. To really build out this unified modern era, the event's synchronized score purposefully wove together so many diverse voices. The producers realized, you just can't tell the full story of Colorado without honoring all the distinct cultures that contributed to its harmony. This included honoring indigenous tribes for their ancestral ceremonies and heritage, and Hispanic communities for their incredible cultural contributions. But what made 2026 uniquely modern was the explicit honoring of veterans and frontline workers. Coming out of years of major global challenges, the spectacle used its platform to highlight resilience and shared values. By honoring these specific groups, the artists were effectively blending all these different melodies into one totally unified community anthem. To truly understand this blending, we really have to talk about the profound enrichment by Hispanic communities. They added absolutely vital notes, flavors, and rhythms to the state's multicultural patriotic traditions. When the artists were building the synchronized soundtrack, they drew heavily on this heritage. They made sure that the traditional music, food, and dance of Hispanic Coloradans were recognized as an inseparable, deeply woven part of the state's historical and modern rhythm.
And this integration of modern values went way beyond just the music. The 2026 celebration was deeply impacted by the realities of contemporary life. There was a desperate need for unity after periods of social unrest and pandemic challenges, but there was also a profound focus on environmental awareness. Colorado's rugged natural geography is a huge point of state pride, right? So event organizers actually utilized eco-friendly fireworks materials to minimize environmental impact. It's so cool how the art itself adapted to reflect the sustainability values of the community watching it. Section 5. A living story of freedom, the ultimate artistic goal.
Everything we've looked at today, the ancestral roots, the railroad expansion, the diverse rhythms, was compiled so audiences wouldn't just watch some pretty lights, but actually feel 150 years of shared progress. So the crucial point is perfectly captured by this quote from Franco Arteceros. The combination of tradition, innovation, and community spirit made it clear that Colorado's 4th of July is more than just a holiday. It's a living story of freedom and identity. That phrase, a living story, it completely encapsulates the entire mission of the 2026 Multimedia Project. By synchronizing history with art, the celebration evolved from a static date on a calendar into an active, breathing narrative that every single person in attendance was a part of.
I want to leave you with this question to ponder. How would your local history sound if it were turned into a synchronized multimedia experience? What are the indigenous roots, the early struggles, and the diverse cultures that make up the rhythm of your hometown? History isn't just something we passively read in a textbook. As Denver proved in 2026, it's something we can compose, listen to, and experience together. Thanks for hanging out with me on this explainer, and I really hope this sparks a desire to go out and uncover the hidden soundtrack of your own community's past.